Hey guys, welcome to the Dog Owners Podcast. My name is Vinnie. That handsome man over there is Brent. And today we're going to talk about the most common issues that people have with their dogs. And there's about 4 things I want to go over with Brent today. So let's get started. So Brent, tell me, what are the top 3 things you think, top 3 reasons people call you?
Top 3 reasons. I think
Most common.
Yeah, most common. Overall, they have like zero control over their dog. So like the dog is jumping on everyone, pulling everywhere, just kind of out of control in general, like puppy stuff. But sometimes these dogs are like 4 or 5. The second one would be like leash reactivity, because I think it kind of goes hand in hand, right? Where our dogs are out of control and then our dogs start lunging at things. And then number 3 would be a lot of it is like separation anxiety. Let's say that.
Yeah.
Attachment issues.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say if I were to break it down really simply, one would be leash skills, whether that's reactivity or just dogs pulling on the leash. Uh, 2 is jumping, like they can't bring guests over because their dog's kind of a psycho when they bring people over and it annoys them.
Mhm.
And then barking, right? So it's like how many
Yeah.
people just have a dog who barks, which you can encompass in reactivity, but how many people just have a dog that is annoying? Um, and then if you branch out, I agree, separation anxiety is a rampant problem, which we should do an entire episode on, but we should touch on all 4 of those today. And let's just break it down for people who are struggling with each of these issues and try to troubleshoot and give them some advice, practical, simple advice, just like Brent and I do. Brent, which one of those 4 do you want to start with?
Oh, the leash. Can we start with some leash training and like just figuring out a way to get control over our dogs? I think one of the most important things I ever learned as a dog trainer was that the leash should be a communication device, not a restraining device. And a lot of times people confuse this idea of having control over their dog with like how attached they are to their dog, right? So like I'll see people, they go, "Oh, the harness just gives me more control." Well, that's because we have different definitions of what control is. You as a dog owner might think control is I have better attachment to my dog. Like they're wrapped around in a harness, so I have more control. But for me, control is psychological. Like
Yeah,
if I don't have, you know what I'm saying? So if I don't have psychological control over my dog, then I'm actually not in control. If the dog's not thinking about me or considering me, I'm not in control. So one of the big things in leash training, good leash training is actually keeping a loose leash if possible, whenever possible, and trying to develop a relationship where my dog is aware that they're attached to a leash. So typically when I start like a group class, one of the very first things I'm going to put focus on is teaching what are called leash awareness exercises. So this is just teaching the basic limits of the leash. So if I'm on a 6-foot leash, I'm going to give my dog the full length of that leash. And if they keep hitting the end, I'm going to just mark and let them know, hey, that's too far. And I might say like, give a little pop. Give a little pop. And within 3 to 5 trials, the dog has stopped pulling in those directions that they've tried. And then once my dog checks in with me, I can start feeding them. So my dog needs to have a very clear idea. Moving past 6 feet or 5 feet, 11 inches is always going to meet with some resistance. I'm going to hit the end of the leash. Maybe it should, a good correction on the leash should be attention grabbing. So the dog puts it to memory, right? And then if my dog stays on a loose leash, I have all these opportunities to give them treats and, reward them and get them, get them to just engage with me, right? Now, this is just the first exercise. This is just leash awareness. My dog needs to show me that they are aware that they're attached to another human being.
Can I add 2 things here, Brent?
Yep.
So, one thing that you talked in that spiel is they have to keep the leash loose to start, right? And I think most people are starting with friction. So they're
Mm-hmm.
starting holding taut. It never tells the dog when they're doing it right. If we're constantly wrenching the dog, it actually doesn't give us the chance to say, hey, this is right and or this is wrong because it's always tight. And then the dog learns to just live like that, right? And Brent, how many dogs have you seen that have gone through different training programs that are neck hard, right? Because they're
Mm-hmm.
like constantly being held by the collar on the neck. And that is, that is vital. And keep going because I want to add a little spin on it once you're done.
Yeah. So that's a great point. And I think, you have to sometimes counter condition what you've conditioned yourself to do. Like a lot of people, they do the classic like wrap the leash around their wrist kind of thing where the dog only has like 1 foot of leash. And they call that control, right? Again, I'm always going to fight for real control, psychological. So have the dog on a loose leash. Make sure the dog's aware that they're attached to a 6 foot leash or however long your leash is. Teach the dog to stay within the parameters and boundaries of that leash. And then once that's the case, I'm going to start moving. So the very first exercise that I do is called a stop and go exercise. I always tell my clients, walk 5 steps, come to a stop. And your dog still has 6 feet of leash. So your dog has like a 6 foot perimeter or a radius around you that they can live within. But if the dog tries to go out of that 6 foot perimeter, there's a quick little correction, and we're just going to do the next round. So we do that about 5 to 10 times. They walk 5 steps, they come to a stop. They walk 5 steps, come to a stop. You guys are going to hear me say in this podcast within 3 to 5 repetitions a lot, because when you have good technique or you have a good communication system, it should not take more than 3 to 5 repetitions to get a response or grab attention on your dog. Dogs start picking things up pretty quickly. So you walk and stop, you walk and stop. You do that about 5 to 10 times. Once the dog starts stopping with you, feed the hell out of that dog. Feed, feed, feed. Walk some more. They stop. They look at you. Feed them again. And then what we start doing is we start changing paces. Maybe we start going fast. Then we start going slow. And then we come to a stop. And the dog, little by little, because we're changing paces, is now going to have to use more of their attention span to pay attention to you. And then that's when I go into the traditional changing of directions. If you guys have done any type of leash training before, at some point a dog trainer has told you to do some type of pivot turn or change direction or about turn, whatever they call it.
Figure eights, brother. Figure eights. They sound nice when we call them figure eights.
Like it. I like I like the figure eights. And so when you start changing directions, whether it's into the dog or away from the dog, these things now teach the dog to use the remaining amount of their focus and attention span on you. So it's kind of like a video game. It's like level 1, the criteria is really simple. Don't hit the end of my leash. Level 2, don't hit the end of my leash and pick up my pace changes. That's harder. Level 3, don't hit the end of my leash, pay attention to pace changes, and also pay attention to if I change directions very quickly. So little by little, we're prompting our dogs to pay attention to us, which gives us so many opportunities to feed, and positive reinforce any form of attention. And then typically in my system, that's when I go into the figure eights after the dog has that attention. I usually won't start in the figure eights because the dog will fail a lot more if they're out of focus, you know? But yeah, that's all I have to say about that. How about you,
Can I
Mr.
tell you,
Vinnie?
dude, I love it. Can I tell you something so funny?
Yeah.
We do it the opposite.
You start with figure eights?
So we start with figure eights in a setting where the dog should not lose. So if I have a driveway where there's no distractions or a sidewalk, or there's no distractions, cul-de-sac, and or in the house, if I have to go in the house, very similar system where we teach the dog how to turn pressure off on the collar, super light. When we start figure eights, there should only be 2 fingers worth of pressure on this leash. But we start with figure eights. We get the dog to, and it's not about, guys, just so everyone knows, it's not about speed at the beginning. Speed is not necessary. What's important is that the dog understands what the hell's going on, right? So when we start our figure eights, you don't hold taut like Brent was talking about. You start walking, the dog's gonna fuck off, and he's gonna do whatever he wants, go left or straight, and it's important once again to not do this in an area where your dog is gonna be like, oh, if I do this in the middle of a park, of course I'm not gonna get my dog's attention, right? But if I do it in the driveway where there's nothing there, or I do it in my cul-de-sac, there's nothing there, or house, if he starts walking a little in front, I just say heel, and I like to cheat a lot, Brent, at the beginning. So I cue every change possible so the dog has the best chance to succeed. So when I want to go
Mm-hmm.
the other way, we use a heel cue to heel. I
Mm-hmm.
guide a little bit on that leash. That dog turns, I mark, and I pay. And you know, it's difficult for people to get this timing right too, right? Because it's like there's a lot of little things this person has to learn. But at the end of the figure eights, our goal is twofold. Our goal is, one, the dog understands the general principle of following. And then goal number 2 is that the human understands how a collar can work. And then we just start immediately going into the exercise that you explained. I
Nice.
love that on opposite ends of that and
Mm-hmm.
achieve the same goal, I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think we should potentially shoot a video on
The
we just grab
opposites.
2 dogs from the shelter and
Uh-huh.
we show exactly how it works.
Yep.
Uh, I love that, dude. I think that's
Yeah,
great.
well, what's cool is the I think we solve for different problems, right? I think I developed those techniques for huge classes for super novice people, right? Because what I'm trying to solve for is I need the client to learn things. So when I start with like stop and go, it's because I need them to practice their timing right there. That's where I pop, you know? And then when I teach them to speed up and slow down, I'm teaching them how to move with confidence, right? I'm building these tools in the trainer. I think we're both solving for both dog and people, but yeah, I'd love to see how that plays out.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And you're totally right. There's a huge difference about when you're teaching a class because I mean, you're only as good as your weakest link. So if
Yes,
you're trying to
100%.
teach an entire class a very difficult concept, it everybody's going to struggle, and then you're going to want to jump off,
Yep.
the ledge there. Um, but yeah, I totally agree with you. The only thing that that I would tell everyone if you're going to start trying any leash drills, don't be afraid to before you start, whether it's doing the free walk, the orbit walk, what we call what Brent was doing, or the structured following walk. Pay your dog a few times before you get going. So you can cheat. You can put your dog in a sit, pay him 3, 4 times. Okay, now we start movement. The dog knows, hey, this motherfucker that I'm training with has the goods that I want. So maybe I should check back in with him sooner. I think that's great, dude. I like that a lot.
Sweet. Awesome. What's the next one?
Next one would be anything else you want to add on that?
No, I think that's pretty simple. I mean, for podcast form, I think we should do that video though. Let us know in the comments, guys, if you guys want us to do that video, because I think that'd be really fun.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Add that to another fucking thing we have to do together.
Yeah, I know. God damn it.
Damn
God.
you, Scuba.
Scuba. The other one I think was barking. I mean, barking was what was the other one? Like just jumping.
We have jumping, barking.
Kind of like bad manners, if you will, or like lack of self control. How you
Yeah,
want to take that one? How do you
yeah,
handle that stuff?
uh, yeah. I'll start with barking. So to me, for barking, I want to look at and explain to the client why do you think your dog is barking? Like, what is the purpose behind the behavior? And for most dogs, they bark for a very simple reason. And I'm not talking about the dog just sitting there barking at you, but I'm talking about the dog who's barking all over the place. They're good at it, they enjoy it, and they win constantly at it. And the reason I say they win, guys, is because they bark. The whatever it was, the scary thing never entered the house, and you've got this super strong dog now, right? And they're probably an insecure mess, but in their brain, they're like, "I did it and I won." So first thing is we have to figure out a way to fulfill this dog first. So barking is all of this energy put into a task that I don't like. But what am I doing with my dog throughout the day that says, hey, this is what you should be doing and this is where your energy comes out? So, I was a hockey player. When Brent was going up, he was a ballerina. So we both had these.
Ballerino. It's
Is that a real
masculine.
thing?
Yeah, ballerino. Yeah, I think so. No, I don't think it's real.
Eh, but as a kid, I had this task of playing hockey where I got rid of a lot of my piss and vinegar. And if you remove that from my life, and then you started to notice me punching holes in the wall, and you started to notice me lashing out more, everyone would go, hey, it's pretty simple. The kid's not doing something that he enjoyed doing and getting rid of his energy in a productive way. I'm not a huge fan of going straight into correcting barking. First thing is, hey, you got to make sure that you're fulfilling the dog's life somehow. And what that looks like, guys, is your dog's tongue better be out of their mouth twice a day. And we've talked about this in our first podcast of of high intensity exercise. Your dog needs it because they were not meant to live in a crate. And when I say crate, I mean your home. I don't mean an actual wire crate. They just live stuck. So let's say, okay, Vinny, we're fulfilling our dog, but they still have this habit of barking because once again, they've won 1,000 times. I think the thing that in my brain where people screw up the most is they never actually correct their dog for barking, right? So like it's super common for dog owners to redirect their dog's barking. So, you know, Hank goes out to the window and he barks, "Come here, Hank." I shake the bag of treats, place. I put him on place and I give him a treat. And now my dog is never going to stop barking. I'm going to have to do that for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important that we learn how to stop barking. And then once we've stopped it, then we can ask our dog to do whatever that task is next.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So in my brain, when a family calls me for barking, I assume they're barking out of the window, or I assume they're barking out of the door, or in a setting like that. For me, correcting that would be via squirt bottle. Okay, and a simple little technique. For first thing, and Brent, we've talked about this off camera, but the way in which we load the squirt bottle or we
Yep.
condition the
Yep.
squirt
Yep.
bottle,
Yep. Yeah. Tell the
we take
people.
a paper towel, we drop it on the ground. The dog's going to go for it. You're going to say no. They're like, nah, fuck that. This paper towel seems interesting. You're going to squirt them in the face and kind of make a big deal out of it. And I don't mean like this, like, no. It's like, no. And the dog's like, holy fuck, I was just going to sniff this thing. Like, what, why was that? Make sure that the first time you are doing this, that the dog is doing something that you don't want them to do, minor, on
Mm-hmm.
a minor scale. Because
Yeah.
if you
Low
try,
risk. Something low risk. Yeah.
yes, you know what, Brent, that's a great word.
Low risk, low intensity.
Yes, but the low intensity is super important, guys, because if you try to institute a new form of correction or punishment while the dog is being reactive, it doesn't work as well as if
Yeah.
you just introduce it during something low intensity.
Yeah.
So
Like real quick, a quick little metaphor. If you can't get your kid to stop picking his nose, you won't be able to get your kid to stop punching his brother. You know what I mean? Like something super simple like that.
I like that.
You're gonna
I wish
steal
you
it.
would have told my brother that. Uh,
And he still picked his nose.
douchebag. Um,
Yeah.
so we've now conditioned the squirt bottle. We've now given this dog an outlet, and Hank's going to go to the window and he's going to bark, right? And we are, as human beings, just as reactive as our dog. So when our dog barks, we have this immediate visceral response. Oh my god! Hey, no! We start running at him, and it's like, well, dude, chill out. Right? First off, dogs bark. By the way, like it's fucking normal. It's not that big of a deal that your dog barks. The big deal is when your dog barks and he continues. So Hank barks. I look over at Hank and I say, whatever your word is, guys, leave it or no. I don't really give a shit what the word is, right? But Hank barks. I go, no. And I don't get up and I don't move. I allow Hank to make a decision. Now, Hank has one of two options: to look at me and go, okay, what should I do now? Which we know that your dog's not going to do, right? Hank is going to blow up out the window still. Or option two is blow up the window. If Hank chooses that path, there has to be a response from me, and the response will always be the same. Because I said no to the barking and he did not stop, punishment at this point in my mind is inevitable. There is nothing now that he can do to stop what is about to happen. So this is where now I stand up. I walk over, I grab Hank by his leash, or I grab Hank by his collar. If you have a dog who is mouthy, make sure we're keeping a little leash on, because I don't want you to grab him by the collar and then get whacked. You grab Hank by the leash, you lift up on the leash and you remove him from the window. We grab our squirt bottle and we squirt Hank in the face 2-3 times. Now, in my mind, I do not want to squirt Hank while he's looking outside. I want him prepared for what's about to happen. This is going to make it a much bigger emotional deal to Hank, because he's going, oh shit. Like, remember, guys, before you get a ticket, you do have to get pulled off to the side. You have to stop speeding completely. And that prepares you for what's about to come. And that preparation is actually the worst part of the ticket, right? Because you're like, oh, dude, this guy's got a like, fucking window.
Yeah, I was going so fast. I totally ran that stop sign. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm screwed. I know I'm screwed. I know I'm getting this. So I grab Hank. I lift up. I remove him. Don't be afraid to go. No, hey, no. I grab my squirt bottle. I squirt him 3 full times. And at this point, Hank is like, oh my God, I fucked up and I'm sorry. Now, I'm not a huge fan of leaving a dog in limbo here, Brent. So once that dog is looking like, oh my God, I screwed the pooch on this one. Now I say, hey, come over here, buddy, or go to your place bed, or, hey, let's go into the kitchen, go into it down. Whatever it is, I'll ask him something. When he does that something right, good boy, bud. He doesn't need food for that. But I do say, hey, it's good. You're we're back to normal. Any good disagreement has quick reconciliation. You cannot leave this dog in limbo. Typically, what ends up happening is on day two, Hank goes to bark out of the window. I say no. We may still have to go down that path one more time where I have to go grab that. Oh, 3 to 5 reps. We're going to go through the 3 to 5 reps. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
grab that dog. I remove him. No, squirt, squirt. Come over this way, lay down. By the third rep, I swear to you, on day three, Hank goes to bark out of the window. No. Now Hank goes, oh shit, I know what's about to happen. And he looks back to you. And when Hank looks back to you, come here, bud, lay down. Good boy. And that to me would be the perfect response to barking. I do not want to say that all barking is illegal because it's not. Because if your dog's barking at 10 p.m., and Brent, have you ever ran across a client when you are, it's so funny because you'll deal with like a reactive dog and you're starting to like fix the reactivity. Well, he still protect me. It's like, dude,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. Yeah, make up your
Like,
mind.
yeah.
Yeah.
uh, so, but at 10 p.m. when the dog is barking, guess what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to go no because I want to go, good boy, what's out there? Like, seriously, what, like, it's time to go. And then if I see, okay, there's nothing going on, it's 10 p.m., I look at him and I go, no. At that point, that means any barking from that moment on is no longer allowed. And if it does happen, I will follow through 100% of the time because as soon as I don't, he's going to know I'm full of shit. And then I drew a line in the sand instead of a line in stone. So that would be my take on barking, brother. What do you want to add to that?
No, I think it's great. I think the only thing I would add is this idea of practice, right? I think it's important to know what to do in the moment when shit's hitting the fan, right? But if you can simulate, you learn things a lot faster, right? So if you can have someone knock on your front door, 3 times in 5 minutes, like great, you have a great opportunity to try and get through your dog's head a lot faster. If you have kids or a spouse, be like, hey, honey, go sneak around the back and knock on the front door when the dog least expects it so we can practice this a couple more times today. And a lot of people don't like it because in essence, we are trying to set our dogs up to fail. We're
Entrapment.
Yeah, but there's a concept in training. It's called failing safely. So this idea of failing safely just means we are intentionally trying to expose our dogs to a scenario where they make an unwanted decision. And that way we can give them feedback. We can give them good and positive or negative feedback to help change their decision making. Right. And in essence, it's like rehearsal. We're just rehearsing better decision making, but we have to intentionally do it. And I think a lot of people would make a lot faster progress if they did those 3 to 5 reps in 5 to 10 minutes than over 7 days, right? You'll get a lot faster results if you practice it. That's it. But everything else, I 100% agree with. It was great.
I like it. And just one other thing to add for everybody is if you can't stop your dog from being reactive in your home, you are totally fucked when it comes to stopping reactivity outside your home. Is how do I control my dog on a leash 15 feet away if I can't even do it when they're inside the house 50 yards away? Right. So you have to be able to fix that
Yeah.
before we move on to the next.
Yeah. And I think this is going to be a good piece of advice for the audience. Guys, there's a huge correlation. Like as dog trainers, people call us for like the lunging and the barking and the growling. But the point I'm trying to make is if you don't regulate positive emotions, you're going to have a really hard time regulating negative emotions. And so what I wanted to tell people was, if I have a dog who's angry on a leash, he's going to pull on that leash. If I have a dog who's angry, he's going to lunge on that leash. If I have a dog who's angry, he's going to bark on that leash. He might even jump up at you, right? But you know what's funny? When you have a really happy dog who's out of control on a leash, you know what else he does? He pulls, he jumps, he barks, he lunges, right? And so, you go ahead. What?
I'm so glad that you explained that because I was like, Brent, so do dogs that are just excited. That makes no sense.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and this is why every dog trainer since the 60s has said, we got to teach our dogs not to jump. We got to teach our dogs not to pull. We got to teach our dogs not to bark. Right. So the basic setting of boundaries and limits in our relationship with our dogs is what allows us to control the more intense behaviors. Right. Without that authority or that respect, where it's like, we're just unprepared. We just don't have strong enough tools to stop the high risk, high intensity situations, right? So, anyways, I was just piggybacking off of that. Low risk, practice at low risk stuff first. And practice the stuff that you may not even think you need to practice, like the overexcitement. All the cute shit you need to regulate too.
I love it, dude.
Cool. What's the
All right.
next one?
You know what little Miss Muffet called? Oh, dude, have you ever heard of Andrew Dice Clay?
No.
You swear to God?
Andrew Dice Clay.
The comedian from the 80s and 90s? Oh, dude, you're gonna die.
Oh,
You're
that guy? Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, you gotta watch his nursery rhymes, but he does one with little Miss Muffet. Sat on her tuffet, eating her curds away. Along came the spider, sat down beside her, said, "Hey, what's in the bowl, bitch?" Legendary. I'm sorry for butchering that, but he's a great comedian. All the not politically correct at all.
No,
But this was
no.
the 80s. This is a different time.
Yep.
But little Miss Muffet calls you Brent, and she goes, "Yeah, you know what? I have a golden retriever. It's a great dog, but he jumps on me every single time I come home. He jumps on me. He jumps on my spouse. What do I do?"
Yeah, honestly, I would start with a leash or a squirt bottle. Like, the bottom line is, people know how to reinforce their dogs. They know how to tell them they're doing a good job, but they have a really hard time coming up with like a list of things that they could do to get dogs to stop doing things. Right?
Why?
Because it's really common. Like, people are scared of hurting their dogs. People are scared of ruining the relationship that they have with their dogs. In essence, they want their dogs to like them, and they're scared that the dogs won't like them if they correct them in some way, shape, or form, right? If they make the dog uncomfortable.
Yeah, and in your experience, does that add up? If I tell the dog no, does that mean that the dog's not going to like me anymore?
No. I think conflict is part of being a social mammal. You know what I mean? Like, if you put two people in a room together, at some point they're going to disagree about something. So I think this avoidance of stress and this avoidance of conflict between you and your dog, it's more of it's a safety zone. It's like most people didn't get a dog. Well, this is also something I empathize with. Is most people didn't get a dog because they wanted to boss something around. Right? They got a dog because they wanted to cuddle it and be sweet to it and care for it and nurture it and all that stuff. So, if it's not your nature to assert yourself, and then it can be kind of weird. Sometimes it literally rubs people against the grain, right? However, it's our job as parents to dogs, as dog owners, as responsible human beings, that if we don't have control over our dogs, then it's really hard to keep them safe. So anyways, going back to the question about jumping, we first got to figure out what is a suitable correction. Like, what is a suitable deterrent to jumping? And don't get me wrong, there are lots of other supporting things we can teach. We can teach the dog to sit. We can teach the dog off. There's a lot of supporting things. However, none of those things stop jumping. They just delay jumping. Right? I could teach my dog place. I could teach him sit. I could teach him go to crate. I could teach him all that stuff. That just delays jumping. It does not stop jumping. Okay. So a couple things we can use. I could attach a 6-foot leash on my dog. I could attach a leather tab on my dog, which is just like a 10-inch leash, right? I could have a squirt bottle at my front door or any place that my dog might jump on me. If I have, I can get a compressed can of air, something called a pet corrector. I can have that sitting by my front door. If you have multiple dogs, if one dog's a good boy and the other dog's a naughty boy, try to not do it around the second dog. I learned that from a mentor of mine. And if both dogs are naughty, then just spray away, right? Because the compressed can of air can be really intimidating to dogs. So you just want to be careful not to overwhelm the good boy at the front door. So you have a whole variety of things. Like, I'm not a big fan of like pushing or kneeing dogs personally, because there are some dogs that like that shit. Like, there are some dogs that they jump on you, you knee them and they go, "Ooh, do it again." Or if you push a dog down and say off, the dog wants attention. And when you try to push the dog off of you, you're just giving them the attention that they're demanding in the first place, right? So having something that kind of comes out of left field is going to be that the element of surprise is actually a great characteristic for a decent psychological correction, right? So once you guys have that in place, then it's just a matter of you anticipating when dogs have to jump. We know exactly when dogs jump at the front door, when we wake up in the morning, when we're making their dinner, right when they come inside or outside to the yard. There's all these areas when a new person comes over. We know these are going to the dog is going to jump. You have to be 2 to 3 steps ahead of them, prepared with your rewards if you're using rewards, and prepared with your punishers if you're using punishers. And you need to repeat these things in repetition until you start seeing a reduction in the behavior. That's the bottom line. That's all I have to say about that.
That's all I have to say about that.
And that's all I have to say about that.
No, I love it, dude. I love it. Yeah, I know you've seen this a million times, but I had a client last week, good client of mine, very, very nice people. They have 3 giant breed dogs,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I, when I walk into their house, the mom always goes, "This is bullshit. This is total bullshit. They don't act like this. This is bullshit, right?"
Yeah.
And then I said, "Okay, I want to see how the dogs act when you come home. So have somebody film it." All right. So she comes in the door, uh, like a psycho,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah,
"Ah!"
dogs, it's the
The
dog.
dogs jump up. She's now
Yeah.
screaming more and backing away and creating the dogs jumping. And your energy can influence your dog so much, guys, like so much. And that energy has to shift. And you have to be able to go from, "Hey, I'm coming to the door. I'm calm as can be." And then if you cross me, you're gonna deal with this little, "I'll fucking do that." But you cannot be, "Oh, please don't." Squirt, squirt, squirt. Because
Yeah.
eventually the dog goes, "Well, you're full of shit."
Yeah.
Or like how many dogs that we use a tool with to stop a behavior, but the dog just gets immune to it because we're not doing it right.
Right.
Right. So when you guys come in, you have to be very intentional about the way you come in. We walk in, we own the space, and obviously everything Brent said is true. When you come into that house and the dog jumps up on you, like I actually kind of just like, so with all of my dogs, when the dog jumps, I've just been a little physical back. Right. I like that. For me, it fits my lifestyle great. So for instance, when I came home and there was one time Crunch jumped, and that fucker got grabbed by the scruff, and he went, "Oh,"
My
but that
bad.
this yeah,
Yeah.
hey, the energy shifted. He went, "Oh my god, this is wrong."
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the side note, Brent, do you believe that there's any correlation between me sitting in this on this couch and this dog jumping all over me free willy, and it uh how you doing, brother? Uh, is that also gonna add to my problem of like, "Hey, this dog is just jumping on me in all these different settings, but I'm telling him it's good here, but not good here."
Yeah, I think overall having the ability to control your personal space and attention is mandatory, right? So when I teach patience to my clients, there's a basic premise. It's patience is teaching someone to work for something, to wait for something, and be okay not getting something. That's ultimately what patience is. And usually when we do patience work in dog training, we're using things that the dog could normally have. But sometimes we can giveth and taketh away, right? So it's usually food, right? What? It is a little biblical, right? But sometimes it's food and toys, right? So that's number one. It's attention and affection. It's freedom. And what was the other one? There's something else. Freedom. No, freedom, attention, affection, food and toys. Right? So those are the main things that we can give and take away. And these are things that the dog is totally acceptable to have during the day, but we have to dictate to them when it's appropriate to have and when it's not appropriate to have. And if we have zero control over our affection and attention, and our dog is able to just demand it from us over and over, if the dog doesn't respect that my lap is my lap and I say get off, you need to respect that, then where throughout the day do we have authority? Like, where throughout the day should the dog take us seriously if we don't even get him to take us seriously around food, toys, attention, affection, and freedom, right? Like, they don't. So those would be some areas I would help put some, those of you guys listening, if you're having a hard time getting your dog to take you seriously, put rules around those things I just said.
I love it. I love it. And then Brent, there's often a lot of nuisance behaviors in the home that people struggle with that if they simply listen to our first episode, all of that bullshit would just drift away. And why is that?
Yeah, so I would say if you don't regulate your dog's habit formation, right? Like if it's kind of like it's like why people sign their kids up for after school programs. It's so that they control what habits they create. Like, do you want to be a gangbanger selling drugs and like doing and stealing stuff, right? Like without supervision, or do I want to sign you up for football or hockey or like scholastics or whatever, glee club, whatever, right? But it's that way the parents can kind of control what the kid is exposed to. So same thing with dogs. Like if dogs live in a house that's a free for all, then at some point they're going to be like, I like my bone, but I really like your Italian leather shoes better, right? Or I really like my Wubba toy, right? But I also really like the couch pillows, And so if the dogs don't have a regulated schedule, but also one thing that's important is if your dog's not comfortable being what I call being put away, right? Like if your dog can't be on their own, right? Just to chew, to be, to take a nap or to, go play with their toys in the yard by themselves. Like if your dog doesn't know how to be alone and is not really good at being independent, that is something that first episode we talked about is going to help you guys with, is helping balance, creating this great balance between togetherness and separation and togetherness and separation. And our friend Dr. Melanie Uday, she actually broke down this really cool square where it says there's togetherness and separation, and there's structured togetherness, and there's structured separation. There's unstructured togetherness and unstructured separation, right? So we kind of have like these four things, which in essence are, unstructured separation would be like you put the dog somewhere, but there's no rules, right? They could do whatever the hell they want. Structured separation would be on purpose. I'm putting my dogs away intentionally in the crate for downtime, to eat their food in their crate. Like I'm structuring separation. There's unstructured togetherness, right? Unstructured togetherness is like free for all, like do whatever you want. We're just chilling. I don't care. You guys do whatever you want, which there's time for that in the day with dogs, right? And then there's structured togetherness, which is where the dog's with me, but they need to be on their cots, or they're not allowed to be on the couch, or they need to follow certain rules and manners. So pretty much we're holding the dogs accountable for stuff, right? And I would say a lot of dog owners live in unstructured togetherness a lot.
And what ends up happening, guys, is when you spend too much time in those areas, your word no loses value because you're beating a dead horse, right? Like your dog is not in a position to fully comprehend what you're trying to say. They're too tired, they're too wound up, they're too overexcited, whatever you want to put on that. So you're now stuck saying no 1,000 times a day, and the dog is never listening. So the word no works best if I'm using it appropriately, always following through, but also the dog is able to shut it off and able to stop. And if you are spending all that time with them, well, you're just saying that's your dog's going to learn the word no faster than their fucking name, right? Because it's like, no, 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 no. Put the dog away.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I like it. All right. Yeah. So we were able to cover pulling on a leash or leash walking. We were able to cover jumping, barking. And, if your dog has nuisance behaviors in the house where they're getting into things, stealing things, chewing things, destroying things, just a quick reminder, you guys need to listen to episode 1 of the Dog Owners Podcast where we go over the routine stuff. Because it's so crucial, guys. I think like having that pet schedule for your dog is it's going to solve a lot of headaches and solve a lot of problems. And it's literally just like this week saved 2 dogs from being rehomed simply by just having a simple schedule. So yeah, so there's that. Again, my name is Brent LaBrada, and that's Vinnie Somma, and we'll see you guys in the next episode of the Dog Owners Podcast. Peace.